It is time for a new Afcon, the third time I will be covering this glorious tournament here on the channel, and this tournament could be one of the best. The quality on show from so many different teams, the amount of quality players that are now within African football, this could be an all-timer Afcon, just like the last one was, with just the sheer drama. But in today's video, and for the next couple of videos for the Afcon, we're doing individual videos on each group, previewing the teams, giving little predictions, standout players to watch out for. So if you like that sort of content and anything related to Afcon content for the next month, this is the right channel. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you're new around here. But let's get into today's video and previewing Group A, where of course the host Morocco are going to be involved with Zambia, Mali, and Comoros. Now let's start off with Zambia, because Zambia have been absolutely horrid the last 2 years. Since they qualified for the last Afcon, they have been absolutely terrible. Avram Grant was an absolute disaster as the manager. They had no stability. They had nothing in attack. Yeah, they have obviously good goal scorers, but defensively and in the midfield, which I'm really shocked by because of the quality within the Zambian midfield, they've been an atrocious watch. Atrocious. So now Avram Grant is gone. Moses Sione is the new manager. He's been there for a couple of games, but I really don't know how you're going to fix this Zambian team. Obviously, look, when you think of Zambia, they got quality. Patsundaka, Lamek Banda, Kings Kangwa, Emmanuel Banda. They got quality in the midfield. They got quality in attack. But guys like Patsundaka and Banda, they have done nothing for the national team recently. When was the last goal for Patsundaka with Zambia? In a quality game, by the way. I'm not talking about friendlies. It's been a while. So for Zambia, it's going to be a long tournament. And if we saw anything from the last Afcon, where Zambia were really kind of one of those dark horses. They were playing good football, attacking-wise. They were looking threatening. They dropped the stinker. Now, this time around, what can Zambia do? Maybe, but they have one win since 2024, people. One win. Do you know how atrocious that is? That is terrible for Zambia, who have had such historic achievements in Afcon history. But other than the glorious time of 2012, Zambia have been kind of underachievers, you would say, when it comes to Afcon football. Is it going to change this time around? I don't really see it. I think they're going to still be a dangerous team because of just the quality within the side. But there's really no stability. I think 2027 Afcon is when this side can actually put up a good performance. But maybe this Afcon is a little bit too quickly arriving for Moses Sione and obviously a lot of these players. But eventually some of these players got to step up. Like a Patsundaka and Lamek Banda, who two players that I think a lot of people rate. They got to step up in this Afcon if Zambia want to have any chance of really advancing out of this group, because this is a tough group for Zambia. You're not beating Morocco. Mali, we know, are a tough opponent. And Comoros are a good side as well. For Zambia, if you want to have aspirations of qualifying out of this group, you got to beat Comoros at least. You've at least got to get 3 points to advance to the round of 16. Will that happen? Time will tell for Zambia, a national team that we always have a soft spot for what they did in 2012 and beating Ivory Coast in that final. But yeah, it's not looking great right now for Zambia. Then let's go to Comoros, because Comoros for me are one of the great stories of the 21st century in African football. Just merely what they did at their last Afcon and their only appearance so far in 2021 in Cameroon. I mean, that was spectacular. The COVID issues they dealt with. Then they knocked out Ghana in that crazy game in the final group stage game. Then they had to play one of the defenders in goal because they had no goalie with all the COVID issues against Cameroon in the round of 16. And you know what? They should have won that game. The amount of chances they created, just the effort they gave, they made Comoros so proud in that game. And since that moment, they had a little bit of underperformances, and obviously there was so much high after incredible debuts at the Afcon, but they've had some challenges attacking-wise, defensively. They have a lot of new players coming into this team, and heck, they qualified through a very difficult group to get to this Afcon. Tunisia, Madagascar, and Gambia. Gambia, we know, a high-flying attack. Madagascar, a very underrated side. And Tunisia, well, they always qualify to every tournament. So that was a pretty tough group for Comoros to get into and qualify for this tournament. Hey, they even beat Tunisia away. How many sides around Africa can say, yeah, we went to Tunisia and won a game? Not many. Comoros did that. So Comoros are a very intriguing team that on their day, they can be defensively solid. They don't really have a lot of goal scorers. That's why you got to look at Changama. Changama, the number 10 creative midfielder, he scored that spectacular goal against Cameroon in the last Afcon that Comoros were at. One of the best goals I've seen in the Afcon history. That free kick was insane. But he's going to have to be the artist, the painter of this team because he's really the only one in the midfield that you can say he can create, he can get goal scoring. Obviously, they have a guy like Rafiki Said up front as well, kind of like a hybrid winger / striker. Sometimes Cousin likes to play a back five or back four, but I think Comoros are also a very dangerous team on their day. But they can throw up stinkers. They lost 3-0 and 3-0 to Mali in World Cup qualifiers. So that's not great heading into the Afcon. They don't, like when Comoros are in a big game, it just seems like recently they've kind of fumbled. But they have quality and they are a very underrated side. So if I'm like a Mali and Morocco, especially Morocco, your opening game is against Comoros, I would be a little bit worried about the situation because Comoros can throw up a surprise here. But it's just great to see Comoros, this tiny island nation, and to see what they did at the last Afcon. To see them back here, I think is great. And hopefully they can pull up some great performances against, because they were, for me, one of the most entertaining sides in 2021. And then let's get to Mali. The LA Clippers of African football. They will always be the dark horses at every single Afcon in World Cup qualifiers because they got talent. All of the years, Seydou Keita, so many incredible players have played for Mali. But every single time, they drop a stinker, they fumble the back here, It's like every time you put a little bit. That's why if you're an investor, if you're a finance guy, never put stocks into Mali. Never do it. Because you know why? You're going to come back empty-handed. That's what Mali do. But I do rate their manager they have right now, Tom Seinfeld. If you don't know who Tom Seinfeld is, he looks kind of like Einstein. I mean, he is Einstein for African football, international football. What he did with Gambia in 2021, getting them to the quarterfinals. It's just such an incredible story what he did with Gambia. Now he takes over Mali, probably the best national team he's ever managed. I think it's what he deserves for having such a long career. And I think he's a perfect manager because he's not going to be an attacking-wise, sort of manager like Eric Chalet at the last Afcon we saw. Defensively solid. I think that's what Mali need. They just need to bring a manager who's experienced, has good sort of in-game management, and is just defensively solid tactically. I think that's what Mali need because the sheer quality they have going forward with Dorgales Nene, Kamori Doumbia, El Belay Toure, and obviously Sendioko up front. Mali are going to score. I have mentioned all of these players, but Yves Bissouma is not going to be mentioned because I really don't think Yves Bissouma is going to go to this AFCON. And to be honest, I think Mali are a better side without him. It just seems like Yves Bissouma has been an outcast for the Malian national team the last couple of years. Why did they need him? Now they got a new guy called Mamadou Sangare who's been unbelievable with Lens. Very physical midfielder. I think that's what they kind of need defensively because, yes, they had like a creative midfielder like a Yves Bissouma, but I think they just need physicality. They need a defensive sort of player in the midfield, Mali. Now they got it with Mamadou Sangare, who I think is an absolute gem of a midfielder. It looks like from watching a couple of Lens games. And for Mali, look, what are the expectations? Get to the quarterfinal. But just don't bottle it last time. Remember the last time people, they were at the Afcon. They get to the quarterfinal. They finally won a knockout stage game. They get to the quarterfinal. They're 1-0 up against Ivory Coast with 10 men for what? 90 minutes or 80 minutes of the game? And they lose. That game just epitomized Malian football for the 21st century. We got the epic meme of Eric Chalet with the water bottle. Hopefully there's no memes of Tom Seinfeld because, that would just be crazy. But we know AFCON, it's always throwing up an incredible meme out there. But Mali will always be a dangerous side. They've made it past the group stage the last 3 AFCONs. This is what they do. They have the quality. It's just always going to be about, can they not bottle it in the pressure cooker moments? If they are going to finish second in this group, because I think most people will predict that Morocco will finish first, and maybe Mali second, Comoros third, Zambia fourth, but Mali got a tough game first off. They got Zambia in the first game. Then they got Morocco. Then they got Comoros. You have to, at least, if you're Mali, go into that last game against Comoros with at least 3 points. If you're with 3 points, you're good. But then when they get to the round of 16, they could be facing the runners-up of Group C. And if you look at who are the runners-up in Group C, it's Tunisia or Nigeria. That is a tough road, if you ask me, for Mali if they want to make it to a quarterfinal again. Can they do it? Of course, but it's just the story of Malian football. You put any stock into this team and they'll drop points to Central African Republic. It's what they do. But I respect the ballers. I respect Kamori Doumbia because I think this guy is a great number 10. Then you have Nene, who was a sort of breakout star, I thought, at the last Afcon. Now he's made the move to Fenerbahce. Really good forward out wide. And then obviously the final team in this group is Morocco, the host. First time hosting the Afcon since 1988. I did a more of a deep dive video on them. You can go check it out on the channel, people. Just talking about their expectations, why they need to win this Afcon. But let's go a little bit more tactically on what they need to do in this group and then trying to win this Afcon. For Morocco, it's really about defensively, can they be solid? Can guys like Aguer, El Yamik be solid defensively? What about then Mazraoui? What about the status of Hakimi? I think if Morocco want to win this Afcon, Hakimi has to be fit. I think without Hakimi, look, Mazraoui is a very good right back, but he's no Hakimi. There's no Hakimi in the continent of Africa. Hakimi is a game changer of a player. Defensively, the speed he has, going forward, what he can bring to the attack. I think having Hakimi is so valuable for this Moroccan team that he needs to be healthy. If he's not healthy, I would worry about then can Morocco really win this tournament. I think we know about the midfield quality. You know, you have guys like Amrabat, Ounahi, El Hanouz. I can go on and on and on. But then the big question mark, I think, for Walid is, what do you do up front? Who are going to be the two forwards? Because I did see some people talk about Abde Ezuli, who, look, I'm not the biggest fan of Abde. I think he's a very sort of hit and miss sort of player. On his day, very good. But he has a lot of stinkers. He's very frustrating player. He can beat a man, but his decision-making is so poor a majority of the time. So, look, you can bring in Ezuli, who can bring the speed, the directness that you want maybe from a left winger or any forward on this Moroccan team. But I would just trust guys like Zaibari and Brahim Diaz because I know they're comfortable in possession. They can beat a man. Very good in those tight spaces if you want to have like a left 10, a right 10. I think that's what kind of Morocco need because they're going to bring the width from one of the right backs or the left backs. So do you want to go, if you're Walid Regragui, you're going to go up against these sort of defensive teams. Mali's going to play defensive. Comoros are going to play defensive. Zambia are going to play defensive. Do you want to go with like two natural wingers or do you want to go with like two number 10s playing out wide? I think that's the big question mark here for Walid Regragui. And then going further on in the tournament, I mean, barring an absolute epic collapse of Morocco not making it out of the group stage, does he then go for more of counter-attacking players like Ezuli? Time will tell, and we're going to be very much analyzing very critically every tactical decision that Walid Regragui does in this tournament. And then who do you go up front? If you're Moroccan, which striker? You have El Kabi, En Neziri, Igamane. I don't know, Sanadi's going to make it to the tournament because he's injured with Athletic Club, but you have to go with the guy who's in form. So that's either El Kabi or Igamane. And the way Igamane plays, this guy's the R9 of Moroccan football. I'll say it. He's the R9 of Moroccan football. I mean, he should get the same haircut as R9, but he is very good in possession, good link-up play, gets a goal, can score from outside the box. Obviously, El Kabi is a bit more of a traditional striker where if you need a guy in the box dealing with the crosses, El Kabi can get you a goal in those situations. So I think Walid Regragui has everything. He's got everything on a plate for him. Now he needs to cook up the 3-star Michelin dish, and let's see if Morocco can do it. For this group, Morocco should be winning it. I think this group is actually a very good test for Morocco. Mali are a strong side. Comoros are no mugs. And Zambia have a quality attacking players. I think this is a tough group for Morocco, and it's a very good test, I think, for them, kind of like Ivory Coast had at the last Afcon. They had Nigeria, then they got destroyed by Equatorial Guinea, then they had Guinea-Bissau. I think that was a good test for Ivory Coast, and we saw what they did. They sacked the manager. I mean, could you imagine if Walid Regragui gets sacked during this tournament? I mean, then we have peaked as Afcon tournament. But this is a good test for every team in this group. I mean, initial thoughts before in a couple weeks, then I'm going to drop my final Afcon prediction. I think this group will finish Morocco first, Mali second, Comoros third, and Zambia fourth. Barring anything with the squads or anything like that, I think that's what a majority of people will go with this group because Zambia, just really poor side at the moment. Comoros could surprise Mali. I wouldn't be shocked by it. And Mali, hey, Mali are Mali. Sometimes maybe good, and sometimes maybe shit. But let me know your thoughts, people, of Group A. Who are the favorites? Who are the standout players for each team? And what's your early prediction for the group? Remember to subscribe to the channel as we are doing group by group preview of the Afcon this year. And remember to follow me on all the socials, Instagram, Twitter. Join the Discord. The Discord, it's going to be spicy during the Afcon. All those links, description down below. But have a beautiful day. Stay safe in this crazy world. Till next time. Adios.